For half a century, Southwest Airlines kept proving a weird idea. You could treat employees like people, pay them well, share profits, avoid layoffs, even when the industry was bleeding. You could treat customers like adults. No tricks, no basic fares that turn into a receipt full of surprises, and you could still make real money. Not miracle money, just steady, stubborn profitability in a business where 5% margin is considered a good year. For decades, Southwest was the airline that did the opposite of the playbook and somehow kept winning. Then, in the last stretch of 2024, it started coming apart. Not because they failed, because they succeeded. The thing that made Southwest valuable was the same thing that made them vulnerable. Because in the system we've built, doing right by people isn't just a virtue. Sometimes it's a discount, a gap, an opportunity for someone else to close. So here's the real question. What happens when a company spends 50 years proving capitalism doesn't have to be cruel, and the market decides that proof no longer matters? 1966, San Antonio, Texas. A bar called the Street Anthony Club. Roland King sits down with his lawyer, Herb Kelleher. King's trying to escape a failing air charter business, and he's staring at a simple idea. He's been watching Pacific Southwest Airlines out in California. Cheap flights, one state, real demand, real profit. And he thinks Texas might be the perfect copy. 3 cities, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston. Close enough for business to need them, far enough that driving is a waste of a day. Legend says he sketches it on a cocktail napkin. Maybe that part is true. Maybe it's the kind of story founders like to tell. But here's the part that actually matters. Back then, if you flew across state lines, you weren't just competing with other airlines. You were competing inside a rule book controlled by the Civil Aeronautics Board. The CAB decided fares, routes, who got to fly where, cross a border, and they owned your options. But stay inside one state, and the CAB didn't control you the same way. You could set your own prices, your own schedule, your own rules. So Southwest wasn't born from some elegant master plan. It was born from a loophole. And once you start that way, you don't get to be normal, even if you want to. The existing airlines saw it coming. Braniff, Continental, Trans, Texas. They fought Southwest in court for years, trying to kill it before it could even take off. It almost worked. King and Kelleher burned through hundreds of thousands of dollars just to survive the lawsuits. But the courts sided with them. June 18, 1971. 3 Boeing 737s. A small schedule. A tiny fleet. Different by necessity becomes different by design. Southwest did everything wrong. At least, wrong according to business school. Wrong according to analysts. Wrong according to the people who swear there's only one way airlines can work. No assigned seats for most of its history. No first class. No business class. No obsession with extracting one more fee from one more moment. And the employees? That was the part Southwest treated like the core product. Profit sharing. Promotion from within. A culture that wasn't a slogan. It was the operating system. Look at Bob Jordan, the current CEO. He started as a young programmer, stayed for more than 3 decades, moved through role after role before he reached the top. At Southwest, that wasn't a fairy tale. That was normal. Most airlines hire leadership from other airlines, people who already know the industry. Southwest grew its own people and built a company that, for decades, just kept staying profitable while competitors kept cycling through bankruptcies and mergers. And customers didn't just fly Southwest. A lot of them trusted Southwest. 2 free check bags long after everyone else started charging. No change fees. Flight credits that didn't feel like a trick. You paid the fare, and that was the deal. For years, Southwest was proof of something people wanted to believe, that you didn't have to choose between treating people well and being successful. And for a long time, it really looked like they were right. December 21st, 2022. Denver International Airport, Terminal C. Around 4 in the afternoon, the temperature is 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold, sure, but normal for December in Colorado. Then it drops, fast. In about an hour, it falls to 5 degrees. 37 degrees gone, just like that. This is Winter Storm Elliott arriving. By evening, it hits -24. Denver knows winter. They have de-icing rigs, snowplows, protocols, but not for this. Not this fast, not this cold. And this is where Southwest's different way of doing things starts to matter. Most airlines in Denver hire contractors for de-icing. Those contractors use enclosed rigs, warm cabins. The operator sits behind glass. Southwest does it themselves. Their own employees, their own equipment, and their rigs are open, more like a cherry picker with a basket. In normal winter operations, it can actually be efficient, better visibility, faster positioning, cheaper equipment. But in -24, with wind chill pushing even lower, that open basket becomes a problem. Workers can only stay up there for short bursts before frostbite risk gets real. 10 minutes, 15, rotate out, rotate back in. That rotation costs time. And when you have a limited number of trained people, it means fewer aircraft handled per hour. United has delays, manageable delays. Southwest starts backing up, fast. And then the network effect kicks in. With Southwest, a delay isn't just one flight. That aircraft was supposed to fly again, and again. The crew on it was supposed to be somewhere else later tonight. Point to point means everything connects to everything else. One problem in Denver doesn't stay in Denver. At 4 p.m., this is a weather event. By midnight, it's turning into something else. Southwest has software for moments like this. Sky Solver. On paper, it's simple. A disruption happens, Sky Solver runs options, and it spits out the least bad path forward. A crew in Denver times out. Sky Solver finds another crew, moves people around, keeps the aircraft moving. Contain the damage. That's the theory. Here's the problem. Sky Solver takes about 25 minutes to run one solution. In a normal disruption, that's fine. But this storm isn't normal. Elliott moves east. Now Denver and Chicago are both getting hit. And in a system like this, the situation can change in 5 minutes. A flight Sky Solver planned to use for a crew swap cancels. The aircraft it needed is stuck somewhere else. De-icing queues pile up. Fuel minimums get tight. Sky Solver doesn't see that yet. It's still solving the world from 20 minutes ago. Worse, it can only solve future problems. Once a flight passes its scheduled departure time, the software can't touch it. A human has to step in and manually patch it. Now scale that, cancellations go from dozens to hundreds to thousands. And the manual system gets overwhelmed. Southwest had 2 people staffing the hotel desk, 2 people tracking crews when they end up somewhere unexpected. For an airline running thousands of flights a day, phones jam, crews sit on hold for hours, and while they're on hold, they're not getting federally mandated rest, which means they can't legally fly tomorrow, which means more cancellations tomorrow, which means more crews stranded tomorrow. Sky Solver keeps trying to route people anyway, and it starts issuing instructions that sound like nonsense. One pilot reported being told to deadhead as a passenger from Baltimore to Manchester, to Nashville, to Chicago, then back to Baltimore. 5 flights, 0 flights actually operated. The software is drowning. And somewhere in that chaos, Southwest loses track of where people are. Not metaphorically, literally. They don't know where all their crews are anymore. Week. Christmas Day. The storm is over. Southwest is still canceling roughly 2/3 of its flights. United is close to normal. Delta is fine. American is recovering. Southwest is stuck in place. So leadership makes a decision that feels unthinkable for an airline. They force a reset, cancel almost everything for the next day, stop selling tickets, fly dozens of empty aircraft, no passengers, just repositioning planes and crews back to where they're supposed to be. Start over. It takes days. By December 30th, more than a week after that first temperature drop in Denver operations finally look normal again, and the numbers land like a bill you can't argue with. More than 15,000 flights canceled. During Christmas week, one of the busiest weeks of the year, over $400 million in lost revenue, around $600 million in extra expenses, hotels, meals, rebooking, compensation, a Department of Transportation fine, $140 million. Brand damage estimated around $300 million in future lost bookings. Total impact, roughly $1.5 billion. Now here's the question that doesn't get asked often enough. Was this Southwest failing? Or was it a stress test that exposed the limit of a model that had worked for 50 years? Because the point-to-point network, the thing that made Southwest efficient, flexible, different, also made it uniquely vulnerable to cascades like this. Hub and spoke airlines have buffers, spare crews at hubs, extra aircraft positioned as backup. When one node breaks, resources can concentrate and stabilize. Point-to-point doesn't have that same cushion. It's efficient when everything works, and fragile when it doesn't. For decades, that fragility never showed itself like this. Then one storm in Denver proved it could, and it leaves you with an uncomfortable thought. Not should Southwest have seen this coming, but can any model built for normal conditions survive the abnormal ones? Cost stopped working everywhere. 2023 arrives. The storm fades from the headlines, but Southwest numbers don't bounce back. 2022, about $539 million in net income. You can blame the meltdown. 2023, about $465 million, down again. And meanwhile, the big traditional airlines are having a very different kind of year. Demand is strong. People are flying, just not the way Southwest needs them to. And it's not only Southwest. JetBlue is struggling. Spirit is struggling. Frontier is struggling. Low-cost carriers across the board are feeling the same squeeze. Why? Because the world the model was built for is changing. Fuel costs rise, then fall, then rise again. Aircraft deliveries slip. Parts and engines become bottlenecks. Labor gets tighter and more expensive. Air traffic control constraints create more delays, more missed connections, more chaos. And weather disruptions stop feeling like rare events and start feeling routine. None of these pressures is new. What's new is how many of them hit at once. Low-cost carriers live on efficiency, thin margins, high utilization, tight turnarounds. So when efficiency drops, the whole machine starts to wobble. And this is where the tension gets uncomfortable. Southwest model worked for 50 years. Now it's struggling for 2, maybe 3. So what broke? The model or the moment? Did Southwest need to change everything? Or did they just need to survive a rough stretch? There isn't a clean answer to that. But markets don't wait for clean answers. They see weakness. And weakness attracts attention. Sometimes the kind you don't want. June 2024. Elliott Management buys in. An investment of about $1.9 billion. Roughly an 11% economic stake. If you don't know Elliott, here's the simplest way to understand them. They're an activist investor. That's the polite term. In practice, it means they buy into companies they believe are underperforming, then pressure leadership to make changes that boost the stock. Board shakeups. Strategy pivots. Restructuring. Sometimes it works. The stock goes up, shareholders win, Elliott wins. Sometimes it damages the company long-term. But long-term isn't really the point. They're not trying to build a culture. They're trying to unlock value and get paid for it. And when Elliott shows up, it sends a signal. to the market, to other funds, to everyone watching. This company is vulnerable. For Southwest, that's the nightmare scenario. Because Southwest spent decades prioritizing culture over quarter-to-quarter performance, employees over pure shareholder return, long-term trust over short-term extraction, Elliott isn't evil. Elliott is a mechanism in a system that tends to value one thing above everything else: shareholder return. And once that mechanism engages, everything else becomes negotiable. Employees, customers, culture, legacy. Southwest spent 50 years trying to prove you didn't have to negotiate those away. Elliott is here to prove that you do. Elliott's demand is simple. Gary Kelly needs to go. Bob Jordan needs to go. The leadership that built this culture, defended it, believed in it, they're the problem. Southwest's response is just as simple. No, Bob Jordan stays. So Elliott moves to the next lever. Votes. Under Southwest's bylaws, once you hold about 10% of the company's voting shares, you can demand a special shareholder meeting. A meeting where board seats can change hands. Not with speeches, not with drama. With ballots, Elliott had a big position, but not all of it was straightforward voting stock. Some of it was exposure built through financial instruments. So they start converting, pushing toward that 10% line. Southwest sees it coming. And in early July 2024, they adopt a poison pill. Here's what that means. If any shareholder crosses 12.5% ownership, other shareholders get the right to buy shares at a steep discount. That flood of discounted shares dilutes the attacker, makes control exponentially more expensive. It's standard corporate defense. And it's also a message. This is going to be a fight. Publicly, both sides keep talking about good faith, constructive dialogue, collaboration. Behind the scenes, it turns into paperwork warfare. Bylaws, proxies, definitions of ownership, legal thresholds. It's technical, it's boring, and it's how power actually changes hands. Then September comes. Gary Kelly and other board members fly to New York to meet Elliott. And right after that meeting, Southwest announces major board changes. Kelly plans to step down after the 2025 annual meeting. 6 other directors plan to leave after the November board meeting. Southwest thinks that might calm things down. Elliott's message back is basically a step in the right direction, but not enough. They're still pushing for the special meeting, still preparing to replace board members, still moving forward. While fighting Elliott, Southwest tries to prove it can change. August 2024. They announced the end of open seating. 50 years. Gone. Assigned seats. Reserved seating. Extra legroom sections for an upcharge. And that extra legroom comes from a trade. Reduce everyone else's legroom by about 1 inch, carve out a premium zone, sell it back. They also announced red-eye flights, the first in the company's history. These aren't little tweaks. They're signals, proof for shareholders that leadership can squeeze more revenue out of the model. Proof for Elliott that the company can be pushed. Elliott's response is basically too little, too late. Then October 2024, the final deal, Gary Kelly retires immediately, not later, now. 5 of Elliott's nominees join the board, 13 seats total. Bob Jordan stays as CEO, but now he's reporting to a board partially shaped by the people who wanted him out. And after that, the identity changes, stop being hypothetical. February 2025, the no layoff policy ends. For the first time in Southwest history, job security isn't guaranteed. Checked bags, $35. Flight credits now expire. Open seating is dead. Reserved seating with premium sections moves from idea to reality. In 6 months, a half-century of culture evaporates. Just sit with that for a second. A company spent decades building something different and proving it could work. Then, in less than a year, it gets dismantled. Not because it failed, because it couldn't defend itself from the way the game is played. To be fair, Elliott's argument isn't nonsense. On paper, it's clean. Southwest has 2 years of declining profits. Meanwhile, United and Delta are posting strong results. Traditional airlines run assigned seating. They charge for bags, they sell upgrades, they monetize everything, and they're making money. So Elliott's question is simple. Why aren't you doing what works? If you put that logic into a slide deck, it looks airtight. And in the short term, they might even be right. Over the next 2 or 3 years, these changes could lift revenue per passenger. More fees, better margins, a stock that looks healthier. Elliott can sell, take the win, move on. But here's the part that doesn't fit neatly on a chart. Southwest's model didn't fail for 50 years. It succeeded by being different. That difference wasn't a nice story. It was the competitive advantage. People chose Southwest because it felt like the one airline not playing games. No traps, no nickel and diming. Now they're copying Delta, United, American, which means they're competing directly with Delta, United, American, companies with bigger networks, more international routes, bigger premium cabins to sell. So what's Southwest's edge now? Price, maybe, for a while, but without the culture, without the trust, without the "this airline is different" feeling. Why would anyone go out of their way to choose them? That's the tension. Not whether Elliott can boost the next quarter, but what that boost costs the next decade. Zoom out. This isn't only about Southwest, and it's not only about Elliott. It's about incentives. In US, corporate governance, boards have fiduciary duties that are largely framed around shareholders, not customers, not employees, not the community. And even when leaders want to prioritize long-term strength, the scoreboard they're judged by is usually the stock price. Quarterly results, guidance, immediate returns. So when Elliott shows up and says, you could make more money faster by cutting costs and raising fees, the pressure isn't just financial, it's structural. Because culture doesn't show up as a line item on earnings calls, but bag fees do. Seat upgrades do, labor cuts do. Southwest spent 50 years proving something people wanted to believe, that treating employees and customers well could also be good business. And it was. They made billions doing it. But that success also created a vulnerability. If you leave money on the table on purpose, someone else can come in and claim you're being irresponsible. If you refuse to squeeze every transaction, someone else can argue you're not maximizing what you should be maximizing. So the system ends up rewarding extraction and punishing restraint. And that's the paradox. Southwest didn't collapse because it was incompetent. It got cornered because it built something that couldn't defend itself in a market that prizes speed over stewardship. Not as punishment, just as a mechanism. Because that's what the mechanism does.